Alright, this is the overview video for UFC Rio de Janeiro from Brazil. And in the main event we have a fight between Charles Oliveira and Mateusz Gamrot. In this video we will go over all the picks and method of victory predictions that have been made for each fight on this card by the UFC Prediction Channels on YouTube. To find out where the odds makers and the prediction channels disagree and find some good betting opportunities. So let's get started with the first fight of the night, which is in the bantamweight division between Luan Lacerda and Saimon Oliveira. And Lacerda lost his first 2 fights in the UFC and Saimon Oliveira is on a 3-fight losing streak from his 4 fights in the UFC. Lacerda is a pretty big favorite with minus 250 in average odds and with plus 200 Oliveira the underdog. So to break even on a moneyline bet, Luan Lacerda has to win 71.4% of the time and Saimon Oliveira 33.3%. In picks by the prediction channels on YouTube, Luan Lacerda is the big favorite. 60 out of 70 channels predict that he will win this fight for almost 86%. And 6 out of 8 of the best predictors also go with Luan Lacerda. And the favorite fighter in odds, Lacerda, is picked by the best favorite predictors 7 out of 8. And the underdog, Oliveira, is picked by the best underdog predictors 2 out of 6. So a few of them like his chances. And as a quick recap, the best predictors have the highest return on investment with their picks in 2025 so far and are highlighted in green. The best favorite predictors have the highest return on investment with their picks on favorite fighters in odds only and they have a star in front of their name. And the best underdog predictors have the highest ROI with their picks on underdogs only and they have a little dog in front of their name. Now, by which method of victory are the YouTube channels predicting each fighter to win? 9 out of 38 channels are predicting a KO TKO win for Lacerda and 0 for Oliveira. For submission win we have 6 for Lacerda and 2 for Oliveira. But most channels are predicting a decision win for Lacerda, 18 out of 38 for almost 50% and 3 for Oliveira. When we compare the odds with the predictions we see something interesting on the Lacerda side. Because the odds makers are thinking that the most likely outcome is a submission win for Lacerda that has odds of plus 105. But the channels that predicting a Lacerda win think that's the least likely outcome and it's only picked by 6 out of 38. And they think the most likely outcome is a decision win which is picked by 18 out of 38 channels which gives you much better odds of plus 440. And also none of the best method of victory predictors go with a submission win for Lacerda. The next fight is in the women's strawweight division between Polastri and Karolina Kowalkiewicz. And the main thing to highlight here is the age difference. Polastri is 27 and Karolina 40 years old, so a 13-year age gap. And both of them have kinda mixed results over the last 5 fights. Polastri is a huge favorite in odds with minus 465 and with plus 350 Karolina the underdog. And most of the YouTube prediction channels agree with the odds makers and Julia is a huge favorite. 63 out of 68 channels pick her to win for almost 93%. 7 out of 8 of the best predictors picked Polastri to win and the best favorite predictors have her winning 8 out of 8. And none of the best underdog predictors go with the underdog Karolina. In total 40 channels made a method of victory prediction for this fight. And out of those only 2 predict a KO TKO win for Polastri. And the rest of them all predict a decision win for Polastri, 38 out of 40 for 95%. And the odds makers expect the same outcome because a decision win gives you odds of only minus 195. Up next we have a fight between Valter and Mohammed Usman in the heavyweight division. And as you can see from the striking and grappling stats, this is basically a match between a grappler and a striker. Valter is on a 3-fight winning streak and Mohammed Usman won his last fight. And in odds, Valter is the big favorite with minus 325 and Mohammed Usman the underdog with plus 255. And Walker is also the big favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. 65 out of 70 channels predict he will win for 93%. The best predictors go with him 7 out of 8 and the best predictors on favorite fighters in odds go with Walker 7 out of 8 as well. And the underdog, Usman, is picked by the best underdog predictors only 1 out of 6. For method of victory predictions, we have 5 channels predicting a KO or TKO win for Valter and 1 for Usman. But the most predicted outcome is a submission win for Valter, which is picked by 36 out of 48 channels or 75%, and only 1 channel for Mohammed Usman. And for a decision win, we have 3 for Walker and 2 for Usman. And also the best MLV predictors, 3 out of 4 go with a submission win and 1 for a decision for Walker. For the next one, we go to the flyweight division for a fight between Rocha and Stewart Nicoll. And Rocha has only 2 fights in the UFC and Nicoll only 1, but both of them lost their last fight. In odds, this fight is basically even. Rocha is the slight favorite with minus 120 and Rocha the underdog with plus 100. And also in picks by the YouTube prediction channels, this fight is pretty close. But here, Nicoll is the slight favorite. 37 out of 70 channels predict he will win for 53%. And 32 channels pick Rocha to win for 47%. But in picks by the best predictors, it's not so close at all. And most of them, 6 out of 8, go with Rocha for 75%. And in picks by the best favorite predictors, it's 50-50. 4 out of 8 for each. And the same with the best underdog predictors, and it's 3 out of 6 for each fighter. But as you know, when the odds are this close and basically even, we can kind of ignore the best favorite and underdog predictors. For the method of victory predictions, we have 7 channels predicting a KO TKO win for Lucas Rocha and 1 for Stewart Nicoll. For a submission win, 1 for Rocha and 5 for Nicoll. But most channels are predicting that this fight will go to the scorecards, and 12 pick Rocha to win via decision and also 12 for Nicoll. And when we compare the odds with the predictions, we see something interesting. The most likely outcome, according to the odds makers, is a KO or TKO win for Rocha with plus 180 in odds, and that is picked by 7 channels. But a decision win for Rocha is picked by 12 channels, which gives you much better odds of plus 500. And also a decision win for Nicoll gives you pretty good odds of plus 275 and it's picked by 12 channels. Up next we go to the women's bantamweight division for a fight between Mesquita and Irina Alekseeva. Mesquita is making her UFC debut and Alekseeva has lost her last 2 fights. Despite making her UFC debut, Mesquita is a huge favorite with minus 590 in average odds and with plus 430 Alekseeva the big underdog. And almost all of the prediction channels agree with the odds makers. 65 out of 69 channels predict her to win for 94%. And the best predictors on favorite fighters have her winning 7 out of 8. And the underdog Alekseeva is picked by the best underdog predictors 0 times. So they have no faith in this underdog. And when we look at the method of victory predictions, only 2 channels go with that KO or TKO win for Mesquita and 1 for Alekseeva. But most of the channels are predicting a submission win for Mesquita, which is picked by 30 out of 44 channels for 68%. And for a decision win, we have 10 channels for Mesquita and 1 for Alekseeva. For the next fight, we have another one in the heavyweight division between Vitor Petrino and Thomas Petersen. And both of them have a similar record over the last 5 fights with 3 wins and 2 losses. In average odds, Vitor Petrino is a pretty big favorite with minus 310 and with plus 245 Thomas Petersen the underdog. And Petrino is also the big favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. 61 out of 71 channels predict he will win for 86%. But he's not such a big favorite in picks by the best predictors, and he's picked 5 out of 8 for 62.5%. And the best favorite predictors pick him 6 out of 8. And the best underdog predictors go with the underdog Thomas Petersen, only 1 out of 6. For the method of victory predictions, most channels are predicting a KO or TKO win, and most of them for Vitor Petrino with 29 out of 46 and only 2 for Petersen. 9 channels predict a submission win for Petrino, and for a decision win we have 5 for Petrino and only 1 for Petersen. And one thing that I've noticed for the method of victory odds for Vitor Petrino is that the bookmakers think the least likely outcome is him winning by a submission and then a decision. But almost 20% of the prediction channels go with a submission win for Petrino, and only 11% for a decision win. For the future prelim, we have a fight between Jafel Filho and Clayton Carpenter in the flyweight division. And this is the second fight of the night that's also really close in odds. Carpenter is the slight favorite with minus 125 and Filho the underdog with plus 105. Although Carpenter is not such a big favorite in average odds, he is a pretty decent favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. 50 out of 72 channels pick him to win for 70%. And he's also the slight favorite in picks by the best predictors with 5 out of 8 and also with the best favorite predictors 5 out of 8 as well. And the small underdog Jafel Filho is picked by the best underdog predictors 0 times. So for now, no faith in this underdog. And for the method of victory predictions, we only have 1 channel predicting a KO or TKO win for Clayton Carpenter. For a submission win, we have 5 for Filho and 2 for Carpenter. But most channels are predicting that this fight will go to the scorecards. And 6 are predicting Filho to win, but most of the channels are predicting a decision win for Carpenter. 29 out of 43 channels for 67%. Opening up the main card, we have a fight in the featherweight division between Lucas Almeida and Michael Aswell. Almeida won 2 out of his last 5 fights and as well lost his last 2 fights in the UFC. And this one is also pretty close in odds. Michael Ashwell is the slight favorite with minus 145 and Almeida the underdog with plus 120. And in picks by the YouTube prediction channels, Ashwell is also the slight favorite. 39 out of 71 channels predict he will win for 55%. But he's a bigger favorite in picks by the best predictors with 6 out of 8 for 75%. With the best favorite predictors it's 50-50 and both fighters are picked 4 out of 8. And the best underdog predictors go with the underdog Lucas Almeida, only 1 out of 5. For the method of victory predictions we have 3 channels going with a KO or TKO win for Lucas Almeida and 4 for Michael Ashwell. Now the single channel is predicting a submission win in this fight and most channels are going with a decision win, with 15 out of 39 for Lucas Almeida and 17 for Michael Ashwell. So for a decision win prediction it's pretty close between these 2 fighters, but we see a big difference in odds. The oddsmakers have a decision win for Michael Ashwell as the most likely outcome for this fight with plus 125, but for Lucas Almeida the odds are plus 410, so a pretty big difference between the oddsmakers and the prediction channels. For the next fight we go to the featherweight division for a fight between Ricardo Ramos and Kaan Ofli. Ramos won 2 and lost 3 out of his last 5 fights and Ofli lost his first 2 fights in the UFC. The favorite fighter in odds is Ricardo Ramos with minus 185 and with plus 155 Kaan Ofli the underdog. Although Ramos is not such a big favorite in average odds, he is a pretty big favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. 59 out of 71 predict he will win for 83%. And also the best predictors mostly favor him to win with 6 out of 8 for 75%. And he's even a bigger favorite in picks by the best favorite predictors with 7 out of 8. And the underdog Kaan Ofli is picked by none of the best underdog predictors. So for now they have no faith in this underdog. For the method of victory predictions we have 9 channels predicting a KO or TKO win for Ricardo Ramos. For a submission win we have 1 for Ramos and 2 for Ofli. But most channels are predicting that this fight will go to the scorecards. 25 out of 41 go for Ramos for 61% and 4 for Ofli for 10%. For the next one we have the third and last fight in the heavyweight division on this card between Jonathan Denise and Mario Pinto. Denise has lost only 1 out of his last 5 fights and Mario Pinto won his first 2 fights in the UFC. And this fight is also pretty close in odds. Denise is the slight favorite with minus 130 and Pinto the underdog with plus 105. And it's also very close in picks by the YouTube prediction channels, but Mario Pinto is the slight favorite here, with 37 out of 71 channels picking him to win for 52%. And the best predictors are split on this one, and both fighters are picked 4 out of 8 for 50%. The small favorite fighter in odds, Jonathan Denise, is picked by the best favorite predictors 5 out of 8, and the underdog Mario Pinto is picked by the best underdog predictors 4 out of 6. But because this fight was so close in odds, we can kind of ignore the best favorite and underdog predictors. So overall, this fight looks very close everywhere. Is it also close with the method of victory predictions? Well, let's find out. For a KO or TKO win, we have 12 channels going with Denise and 21 for Mario Pinto. Now the single channel predicts a submission win in this fight, and 7 channels predict a decision win for Denise and 4 for Pinto. And when we look at the odds, we see some pretty interesting stuff. Because the odds makers think that the most likely outcome for this fight is a KO or TKO win for Jonathan Denise, with odds of plus 175. But that is picked by around 25% of the channels. But the most predicted outcome is a KO or TKO win for Mario Pinto by almost 50% of all the channels, which has much better odds of plus 330. And what's also pretty close in odds is a decision win for Mario Pinto with plus 315, but that is only picked by 4 out of 44 channels. So a big difference between the odds makers and the prediction channels here. For the next one we go to the welterweight division for a fight between Vicente Luque and Joel Alvarez. And Luque only won 2 out of his last 5 fights and Alvarez 4. In average odds, Joel Alvarez is a huge favorite with minus 585, making him the biggest favorite on this card. And Vicente Luque the big underdog with plus 425. And he's also the biggest favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels on this card, with 70 out of 72 predicting he will win for 97%. And only Guaranteed and Raybucks from Bros Talk MMA have picked Vicente Luque to win. And all of the best predictors and the best favorite and underdog predictors go with Joel Alvarez 8 out of 8, 8 out of 8 and 6 out of 6. So now the only question is by which method of victory will he win? And most channels are predicting a KO or TKO win for Joel Oliveira, which is picked by 37 out of 44 channels for 84%. And 7 channels are predicting a submission win for Joel. And not a single channel goes with a decision win in this fight. And what I found very interesting is that a KO or TKO win or a submission win is very close in odds, but not in picks by the prediction channels. A KO TKO win gives you odds of plus 140 and is picked by 84% for all the channels. And the submission win is pretty close with plus 170 in odds and is picked by only 16% of all the channels. So here, again, we see a pretty big difference between the odds makers and the prediction channels for method of victories. For the co-main event of the evening, we have a fight in the bantamweight division between Deiveson Figueiredo and Montel Jackson. Figueiredo lost 2 out of his last 5 fights, but those losses were against some of the best fighters in his division. And Montel Jackson is on a 6-fight winning streak in the UFC. And in this matchup, Montel Jackson is a pretty big favorite with minus 295 in average odds and Deiveson Figueiredo the underdog with plus 235. Montel Jackson is also the favorite in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. 52 out of 71 predict he will win for 73%. Also, the best predictors of 2025 favor Montel Jackson to win with 6 out of 8. And the same results with the best predictors on favorite fighters, because they also pick him 6 out of 8. And the underdog Deiveson Figueiredo is picked by the best underdog predictors 2 out of 6. For the method of victory predictions, we have only one channel predicting a KO or TKO win for Deiveson Figueiredo and 18 for Montel Jackson. For a submission win, also only 1 for Deiveson Figueiredo and 0 for Montel Jackson. And most of the channels are predicting that this fight will go to the scorecards. And 10 channels predict Deiveson Figueiredo to win and 17 Montel Jackson. And here, again, we see a difference between the odds makers and the prediction channels, but mostly on the Montel Jackson side. A KO TKO win or a decision win is basically 50-50 in picks by the YouTube prediction channels. But according to the odds makers, the most likely outcome is a decision win with odds of plus 105, and after that a KO or TKO win with odds of plus 250. Which is also picked by 3 out of 4 of the best method of victory predictors. And then, for the last fight of the night, the main event of the evening, we have a fight between Charles Oliveira and Mateusz Gamrot in the lightweight division. Over his last 5 fights, Oliveira has mixed results with 3 losses and 2 wins, but it's all against the top of the lightweight division. And Mateusz Gamrot is the up-and-coming fighter with 4 wins and 1 loss over his last 5 fights. And in average odds, this fight is exactly even and both fighters have minus 110. But in picks by the YouTube prediction channels, this fight is not close at all. And Charles Oliveira is the favorite with 53 out of 73 channels predicting he will win for 73%. He's also the favorite in picks by the best predictors with 5 out of 8. And because this fight is even in odds, we can basically ignore the best favorite and underdog predictors. But the best favorite predictors have it 6 out of 8 for Charles and the best underdog predictors go with Mateusz Gamrot and they pick him 4 out of 6. But over the next few days a lot more predictions are coming in from the YouTube prediction channels and things might look different. And you can get these daily updates with the latest up-to-date predictions by becoming a member on Patreon. And for the method of victory predictions, we have 9 channels predicting a KO or TKO win for Charles Oliveira and 2 for Mateusz Gamrot. For a submission win, we have 13 channels picking Charles Oliveira and 2 Mateusz Gamrot. And 6 channels predict a decision win for Charles Oliveira and 12 for Mateusz Gamrot. For the best betting opportunities, I got the following 3 fights. The first one is Valter Walker. He is a pretty big favorite with minus 325, but is picked by the best predictors and the best favorite predictors 7 out of 8. And for better odds than the minus 325 moneyline odds, you can get odds of plus 150 if you have him winning via submission, which is picked by 75% of all the channels, but also by 75% of the best method of victory predictors. The second best betting opportunity is Ricardo Ramos, who is the favorite with minus 185, but is picked by the best predictors 6 out of 8 and by the best favorite predictors 7 out of 8. And most channels predict he will win via decision, which gives you better odds of plus 155 than the minus 185 moneyline odds. And the last best betting opportunity is Charles Oliveira. In odds, it's a pick'em fight, but he is the favorite in picks by the best predictors with 5 out of 8 and the best favorite predictors 6 out of 8. But there might be some bias here, cause he's a very popular fighter. And if you want a better price than the minus 110 moneyline odds, a submission win gives you plus 310, which is predicted by 30% for all the channels. But as said before, over the coming days a lot more predictions are coming in, including those from the best predictors, the best favorite and underdog predictors and the best method of victory predictors. So the best betting opportunities might look a bit different in a couple of days. And you can get access to these daily updates and also support the channel by becoming a member on Patreon. You can find a link to my Patreon in the video description. That was it for the overview video for UFC Rio. Hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful or informative. If you did, then don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. I would appreciate it. Thank you all so much for watching, have a great weekend, enjoy the fights, and I hope to see you back in the results video after the fights this Sunday.